Hey everyone, what you're looking at here is the SOL Thermal Bivvy. It's a marketed as a emergency bivvy and also as a lightweight, super ultralight summer sleeping bag replacement. Um, but what I'm going to do in this video is actually test it out as a emergency bivvy shelter. For example, if you had to spend an unintended night in the woods, and we're going to simulate that in my backyard, actually, right after this. Just to give you a quick overview of what you're looking at, as you saw when I panned there, it has a slight mummy cut to it. It has Velcro closures on like the top third of it there, so you can close it up around you. The material is a waterproof, kind of a plasticky. It's hard to kind of describe, but it's not as crinkly as Mylar. It seems tougher than that. But in any case, for the purpose of the test, we're gonna pretend that I was out on a day hike, and for some reason I have to spend an unintended night in the woods, and I don't have my sleeping bag, and I don't have any of my normal backpacking gear. So what I'm going to show you next is what gear I'm going to simulate having in terms of clothing and equipment that I'm going to use during the test. Okay, so here's a look at the clothing and gear that, being as honest as I can, what I would likely be wearing if I was out on a day hike, or what I would have with me in my pack. I'm leaving out all the first aid kits and things like that aren't really practical to what we're testing here. Starting at the top left there is my backpack. I would most likely be carrying my REI Flash 45, a lightweight backpack. Down at the bottom left is my rain gear. You've got a ultralight rain jacket and lightweight rain pants. So full rain gear, I always carry that. These are some synthetic pants. They're my favorite hiking pants. Love them. Not waterproof or anything, just synthetic, stretchy hiking pants. You almost always hike in a long sleeve shirt or have one in my pack. So I've got like a mid-weight, kind of long, just a long sleeve shirt here, this green one. Right here are some mid-weight wool socks. Usually I'm hiking in wool socks. This here is a buff. I always have a buff around my wrist or in my pack. It's or on my head. Super handy piece of gear. So there's a buff, and then last but not least is my down puffy jacket, which is so lightweight that I always carry it just because then I know I'll never get cold. The combination of that with the rain gear ensures I'm going to be dry and warm no matter what happens. So I always have that, even on a day hike. So what I'm going to do is suit up in these clothes, and we'll head outside, and I'll show you the test setup for spending the night. Okay, well, this is going to be the test setup for tonight. I'm just in my backyard, as you can see, just on the grass. It has been raining almost every day of May, so the grass is really wet. So that'll give us a test of the waterproofness. But for that reason, I did pitch a tarp, just so I don't get rained on tonight. I'm not necessarily testing the waterproofness of the bivvy sack. I'm more concerned on temperature, which forecast says it's supposed to get into the mid-40s tonight. But I'm getting ready to crawl in for the night. As you can see, I just got the bivvy laid out there, and I have my backpack underneath me, underneath my torso area for some kind of insulation, and I'm all suited up in my rain gear. I've actually got my rain jacket on underneath the down jacket. So just day hike clothes, and we'll see how warm I stay tonight, and I'll report back later. Well, good morning everyone. Made it through the night. As you can see, it's first light there. I'd be lying if I said I had a good night of sleep, but I slept warmer than I anticipated that I would. Especially with only having my backpack underneath me for insulation. I thought I was going to freeze laying right on the cold, wet ground, but I actually did fine. I didn't get too chilled, and yeah,
The SOL Thermal Bivvy kept me reasonably comfortable as far as temperature goes. There's quite a bit of dew on the grass right now. The camera's not going to pick it up, but I stayed dry too as well from the outside. Did get a fair bit of condensation on the inside of the bivvy, but I'm going to go get up before the sun gets up too much higher and get a temperature reading, see what the temperature got down to, and then we'll head inside and I'll do a final debrief on how the night went. Oh, it looks like the forecast got it about right. 46 degrees at first light this morning, so not too bad. Based on the temperature with the clothing and stuff I was wearing, I don't know if I'd really want to take it below 40, but anyhow, just for the sake of the test, there you guys go, 46 degrees.
Alright, I've got some coffee in me and changed my clothes. I'm feeling a lot better, thinking a lot straighter, so let's wrap up the video here with just some final thoughts on the test night spent in the SOL Thermal Bivvy here. I would say, you know, I had a pretty restless night of sleep, but most of that was probably comfort driven and not from temperature, from being too chilled. You know, just the fact that I'm sleeping right on the ground with nothing but a backpack underneath me. So temperature-wise, I did get chilled a couple times, but I, you know, just kind of moved my legs a little bit or did some crunches, and that got enough blood flowing that I was able to heat up enough to fall back asleep for another 30 minutes at a time or so, until I would get uncomfortable and wake up again. But you know, sleeping on the ground the way I did with just my backpack is probably worst case. You know, out in the field, you would definitely want to cut up like some pine or spruce boughs or some leaves, or get some bedding under you, and you could get some more comfort and some more insulation that way as well. It would be kind of worst case that you had to just set it up on wet grass the way I did. So all in all, I was impressed. I thought I was gonna have a very cold night, and I gave it probably 50-50 odds that I was gonna at some point in the night be so cold that I decided to come inside and sleep in the house and just bag it. But like I said, I was just minimally chilled a few times, so for 46 degrees, I mean, given the clothing I was wearing, I think that's pretty impressive. So is it worth carrying with you? I think so. I mean, it depends on the clothing that you're wearing, of course, but it's obviously better than not having it at all. And if you had to spend a night out, it, you know, based on my test experience, would have made the difference between a very cold, miserable night and just an uncomfortable but marginally chilly night. There's a big difference there. So definitely could make the difference, I could see, in an actual emergency situation, or maybe not emergency, but have to spend an extra night out in the woods, say, or an unintended night out in the woods. Could mean the difference between, you know, a shivery, near hypothermic night and, you know, a decent night of rest. So I'm impressed. I'll be carrying it with me on day hikes. You know, the weight and the bulk are enough that, I mean, it's obviously proved that it's worth carrying to me. It's not just a piece of gear that gives you false confidence in what it can actually do now that I've tested it. So anyway, I don't want the video to go on any longer than it has. If anybody has any questions about the bivvy or the test conditions or my experiences with it, let me know. I hope that was useful for anybody considering it. Thank you for watching.